Do you want better aim in any game you play? Whether you are a seasoned player or an absolute beginner, this guide will have something to help you become a better and more complete aimer.
It's not one of those situations as Bellamy spraying down 4 players in super quick succession over towards the B site. Rowan, the only casualty out of that.
First off, quick disclaimer, I'm not saying I'm the best aimer in the world, I'm really not. I'm just somebody who's played an awful lot of first person shooters over the years to a decent-ish level. I've got a lot of experience in trying to improve my own aim, and I can see the results. So this is me putting together all of the guides and helpful tips that I learned over the years into one video to hopefully help somebody like me when I started a few years ago. In this guide, we'll be going over 4 main sections. First, we'll look at our Windows settings and any other settings outside of our game that can best optimize our mouse input. In the second section, we'll be talking about how we find and optimize the best in-game settings for us. In section 3, we'll be talking about aiming principles and how we can make ourselves more efficient aimers. And in the final section, we'll be talking about how we can continue to improve our aim with practice and, more importantly, patience. This guide has something for everyone, so if any of these sections you already know about or you want to skip ahead or go back and forward, feel free to do so. There'll be time codes and chapters set up on YouTube. Right, for Windows settings, it's pretty straightforward. Just open up the Windows in the bottom left, click the icon or press it on the keyboard, type in mouse settings. In mouse settings there's another option called additional mouse options, click that. That should open up the mouse properties. Click pointer options in the tabs and then make sure enhanced pointer precision is left unchecked. That might be on by default. Click apply and then close that. Basically what that does is it turns off mouse acceleration added by Windows. So what mouse acceleration does is it calculates how far the mouse will travel based on how fast you move your mouse. So say you're flicking really quickly, then that mouse will travel a further distance than if you were moving the mouse slowly. That can be useful for some things, but I find for gaming and for most people it's very hard to have how that can be consistent. To have mouse acceleration and to try and build muscle memory, way harder. So definitely turn that off. With pointer speed, lots of people say put that at sort of 6 out of 6 notches deep. That can be helpful, but I wouldn't say it's essential. But that's what you want to do, the settings here on screen, so be my guest. If you have software for your mouse from companies like Razer or Corsair, open it up. You can probably find it in your system tray in the bottom right of Windows and change 2 settings. Set the mouse polling rate to 1000 Hz, and I'd recommend setting the DPI to either 400 or 800. That will probably make the mouse feel really slow if it's currently set to a high value, but it will make it way easier to dial in your aim. We'll talk about that a bit later in the next section, but if you look at any top level player, the vast majority of them have a DPI between 400 and 800. Now, in your game of choice, I'm using Counter-Strike. Go into the settings, and in mouse settings, you need to change 2 settings for me. We need to turn raw input on, and make sure mouse acceleration is turned off. There are other settings in here, but we'll change those in a second, but these are the 2 main ones that in every game you need to change. So now that we've changed the Windows settings and we've optimized our game settings, it's now time to actually find our in-game sensitivity. There's no set in stone rule like this sensitivity is the best. Everyone's different, has a different preference in terms of aim, so we're going to try and find out the best way to find our individual aim. Take a bit of time, but once you set it, you'll be good to go. So now, the best way to find it for me is to go up to a blank wall somewhere, a nice flat surface, and shoot 1 dot in front of you. Place your mouse right in the center of that dot and try and do 1 360 with 1 swipe of your mouse pad. So placing your mouse from the left of the mouse pad right to the right, can you try and make it do 1 360 and have your cursor go straight back to this dot? You can adapt it so you go slightly more, slightly less, but this is a good and fantastic starting point to find your sensitivity. Just do one straight 360 of the mouse. So once you've done that, hop into a deathmatch, maybe into an empty server, and just start shooting some bots. Just do something that helps you to sort of use your mouse how you would, and then make micro adjustments. If it feels too slow, up it a little bit. If it feels too fast, down it a little bit. But do it a little bit at a time. Just really micro adjustments, like by a point, 2 points, up and down, and spend maybe just 10-15 minutes really playing around with it and trying to find a sensitivity that starts to feel like you could use it. For those of you who are brand new, it will feel really slow, because normally most games default to quite a high sensitivity, so if you've not played around with it much before, if you've dropped it by a significant margin, it will feel really slow. But stick with it, just keep practicing, and hopefully it will start to feel a bit better, and yeah, really tune it in. So for me, a good starting point is to try and have within that 360 margin the highest sensitivity you can, where you still can maintain control. If it's too uncontrollable, it's too high. If it feels too sluggish, it's too low. Just try and really hone it in and find that point that works for you. Right, so let's talk about why we set our sensitivity the way we have, and why do we want a slightly lower sensitivity as opposed to a way higher sensitivity. Well, the most obvious reason is a lower sensitivity is way easier to control. We've got more movement on our mouse pad for a smaller distance travelled with our crosshair, which for us allows us to make micro adjustments and have more control of our aim. So for me, when I was finding my aim and when I was finding my sensitivity, I wanted a sensitivity that would allow me to have a good control of my mouse in multiple circumstances. So let's take this example here on Dust 2. So as I'm approaching mid and I'm trying to take a fight on B ramp as a T, what are my biggest threats? I've got 3 main threats here, here, and here. I want to be able to have a consistent fight and a safe fight that I'm in loads of control with all 3 of these spots. So I can move to all 3 of these spots without a huge amount of effort and a huge amount of movement of my mouse. So I've got loads and loads of control. But I also want a lot of control, or a sensitivity high enough that I'm able to, if I have to, turn in a 180 and take this fight here. So for me, if I'm ever taking a fight that's wider than 180 degrees, then I'm in a poor situation. I want to be able to take these fights comfortably, but also be able to turn and take this fight comfortably as well. This will allow me to be way more explosive as an aimer. If I've got too slow a sensitivity, that makes me have to take multiple swipes of my mouse pad to take this fight. That's just way too slow, I'm going to get killed. If it's too high and I swipe fast and I overshoot it, that's too high and I'm going to get killed as well. So find a sensitivity that you're able to control naturally with that 180 degrees. So if this is my my effective aiming zone, the green part, the yellow part is the, if I have to take a fight at this sort of distance from my center of my screen, then fine. And in the worst case scenario, I still want to be able to take this fight here. So really dial it in. That's the idea we want. There's no reason, there's no point in a match that you're going to have to do anything more than 180. If you do, you're in a poor situation, right? Because if I can do 180 this way, that's fine. I can do 180 this way, that's fine. I'm never going to need to do 180 degrees that way and then back over again, because I'm covering the same distance I could from the other side. So there's no need to go for a really high sensitivity. Find the sensitivity for your mouse pad that allows you to do that swift, quick 180 degrees. Right, so we've set our Windows settings, we've looked at finding our sensitivity in game, and now it's time to look at the aiming principles themselves. For me, I really believe in being a smarter, more efficient aimer than it is being a flickier, snappier, more skillful aimer. Yes, there are those out there who can run around and click on heads so quickly. You know? So the best aimers in the world can flick to heads, click them really quickly. They're really snappy, really explosive. But for most people, that's just not possible. And I think the best aimer is when you can combine that sort of natural skill to smart aiming. So that natural sort of skill with clicking on heads, you know, a bit of genetics and lots of practice. But if we can complement that with really smart aim and being in the right position more often, then aiming itself becomes way easier. What do I mean by that? So let's say on Dust 2 short, I'm a T trying to take short control. If I'm rushing up short and I'm sort of looking here, but then someone's there and they're trying to shoot me from this position, I've got to try and snap and click on their head before they kill me. That's a massive movement for me. There's a lot of space there for me to get my aim wrong, for me to have an incorrect movement of my mouse. So what I need to try and do is think about what's the smartest way of positioning my mouse before I get to this angle. So someone who's played Counter-Strike a lot, you'll know that a common angle that lots of cities hold will be here. That's probably my first dangerous angle as I approach this corner. So I'll almost try and cheat my way and position my mouse in a way that allows me to pre-aim this section here. Pre-aim is a very important skill in aiming, so really think about it. Where's the best place for me to position my mouse as I approach this corner? I know that the guy here would like to play here, so as I approach this corner, I prepare myself here. So if there's a guy there, I've got nowhere to move my mouse. I'm able to click this guy. My mouse is already positioned at his head height on this common angle. If he's not there, then I continue to move, but now I'd move my mouse to check the other more common angle. So another common angle people place themselves is just here in this corner. So as I approach this corner, let's go through both stages. As I come around, I'm pre-firing this angle here at head height. Okay, he's not there. I continue to move. Alright, I'll pre-fire this angle. Is he here? No. Okay, now I'm going to approach the next angle. So the next angle, a common angle people hold, is behind these stairs. So I'll approach these stairs with almost a pre-aimed, just to the left of the mouse here, ready to go out of the wall. Sorry, just right of the wall as I approach towards the stairs. Okay, is he here? No. Okay, what's the next common angle that he might play? Okay, lots of people like to play behind this box here on this wall. So okay, as I approach this angle, I check the stairs first, and then I'm up to the other smart angle, or the other common angle just here. So it's all very fluid. If we do it in more real time, I'm going checking here, and I'm going, okay, I'm checking the stairs, he's not there, I'm checking here again. So I'm constantly positioning my mouse in a place that I feel like, as a somewhat experienced player, most players will play against. Now, I know I'm using Counter-Strike as an example here, but this works in any tactical or first person shooting, which aiming is really important. So let's just go through the whole stage again. Alright, I'm checking this angle, he's not there, checking this angle, he's not there. Okay, checking that common angle, he's not there. Then up here, as I approach it, I'm always thinking about what are the angles that these players have to play against. Like, am I checking the angles that most players play from? Obviously there'll be times when they're not there, but that's where the adaptation and the ability to move my mouse and have that snappy sort of flicky aim, in which lots of practice comes, well, the stat skill comes from lots of practice, comes in. So say I'm here and I'm expecting to be in a common angle, but the guy's just stood there, then I'm able to sort of check that, and right, I'm here, I'm able to react to that. So that's combining, sorry, my skill with my sort of brain. Am I able to combine my skill of my aim with the brain of my knowledge of the game? So let's take this fight for example. Most players like to play either here or here on Dust 2. So let's say as I'm approaching this corner, I'm expecting a guy to be here or here, but someone's positioned right in the middle there. So as I'm coming here, right, I've reacted to him, I've snapped and reacted to that guy who's not in the common position. That's where true aiming skill, in my opinion, comes in, is combining this idea of being flicky and being able to adjust my mouse really quickly and being smarter with my aim. Right, another aiming principle that's really important is understanding the height in which I should aim and my reactions in combat to that. So let's take this long fight on Dust 2 for example. There's no point me walking around with my mouse down, with my cursor down towards the ground. If a guy comes here, I've got to move up and move my mouse to try and shoot him. So I might as well prepare myself at what I assume to be head height. So for most people, for most games, head height is about parallel with the cursor. So my cursor's right in the middle, I'm not looking up, not looking down, right in the middle, at about head height, about here. So that way, as I come around the corners, as I'm taking these fights, I'm ready to be at that head height, which for Counter-Strike and for Valorant and for most first-person shooters, the headshots are the fastest way to kill someone, so they're the ones to go for. So think about keeping your cursor at head height. Another idea is thinking about human reaction time. Human reaction time is quite slow in comparison to how fast these games play. So you got to try and help yourself with human reaction time. If I'm expecting a fight around this corner, there's no point me hugging the corner of this with my cursor, because then if someone swings out wide, I've got to move my mouse out to try and shoot them. I'm not going to react that fast. I'm probably going to get caught out and this person has the advantage. So if I approach this corner with my cursor a bit wider, so away from that wall, I'm able to then react to that guy coming out, and he'll probably walk in to my crosshair. So as a player comes out here, I'm able to react to him and click his head. So these are some of the basic aim principles that will help you become not only a better aimer, but a way more efficient aimer. Because unfortunately, our aim skill will go up and down as we play. You know, some days we feel like we can't miss, some days we feel like we can't hit anything. So if we can apply these aiming principles into every time we take a fight, then the likelihood of that inconsistency goes right down. We'll be way more consistent and way more efficient as an aimer. So pretty much the point of this section was we want to give ourselves less to do. We're trying to give ourselves a lower sensitivity to allow us more fine control of our mouse and crosshair, but not so low that it stops us from taking fights at 180 degrees. We want to give ourselves less work by positioning our mouse earlier in the correct position, so we've got less distance to travel, putting less reliance on our reaction time and our flicking skill, and giving ourselves more consistency by getting our aim in the right position earlier. The best aimers in the world are those that can combine the raw aiming skill with the smarter and more efficient pre-aim. The less work we give ourselves, the more consistent we'll be. Can we get our mouse in that right position nice and early, and then when our flicking and our raw aim skill starts to improve, it will have even more of an impact. Right, so we've optimized our window settings, we've found the sensitivity that works best for us. Now how do I actually get better and improve? Well, if you take nothing else away from this video, the absolute best way to get better at aiming, and I say this to everyone who's ever asked me, is just to play a lot. Just play as much as you can with conscious effort, thinking about what you're doing, and is it the best way to improve? Am I doing the things that we've been talking about in the previous sections? Am I pre-aiming? But of course, like any other skill, there are things that we can do to speed that process up, and that's where practice routines come in and really putting in conscious practice. When I was starting out to really try and improve my aim, and I took my aim improvement seriously, there weren't very many options for me to do that. But nowadays there are some tools available that make it way easier. One of my favourites is Aim Labs. It's a fantastic, really lightweight tool that will allow you to practice your aim in a lot of different ways and styles. They have really specific training routines that help you practice specific skills that really help us become more skillful aimers, such as tracking a target, flicking to a target, strafing skills. It has such a large library, it really breaks down every aspect of aiming and really helps us get better. But one of my favourite ways to use Aim Labs is its playlist feature, where members of the community can go out there and put together entire training playlists for specific skill development or game specific scenarios. So you can really hone your skills for the game that you play the most, and it will run you through multiple tasks and really run you through a structured routine. It's fantastic. You can really hone it to that game you play as well, make it Counter-Strike specific, Valorant specific, Rainbow Six specific. It really sets up in-game scenarios and helps you improve. What's great about Aim Labs 2 is at the end of every task it will give you a detailed breakdown of all your stats for that task, so accuracy, speed, that kind of thing, and over time you can really track and highlight the areas that you need to work on most, because it'll give you a breakdown of everything and really track your improvement. What's great too is it can compare you to other people in the community, and it makes like a competition, which will also help you drive yourself to improve further. It's really good. Another way to really improve your aim, and this is the way that I focused on when I was starting out, and it's to play deathmatch modes in games like Valorant or Counter-Strike. They both have really widely popular deathmatch modes. These modes are great for getting a lot of repetition in a small amount of time. If you only play comp modes, for example, where you only maximum get 25 to 30 fights per game in games that can last well over an hour, it takes way too long to get a consistent fight. It's way more efficient to play deathmatch when you're trying to improve your aim, because that way you get lots of fights without the fear of losing or having to wait for a new round to start. You get into fight after fight after fight. But when you do it, don't go in there mindlessly and just run around and not really think about it. Go in it with the mindset of improvement. Really think about your pre-aim. Think about where I need to position my crosshair. Where is the next fight coming from? And when you're actually fighting, don't just spray and pray. Really try and be precise. Really think about where you're aiming. Are you tracking the guy? And try and use as little bullets as possible. Your KD doesn't matter. Your score doesn't matter. You're here to improve, not to win. So don't focus or compare to other people. Just really focus on your own game. Go in there and really try and do the right things. Focus on the skills we talked about earlier. I would say if you really want to improve your aim, try and make 10 to 20% of your playtime dedicated to practice. So let's say you only can play for an hour. Make the first 10 to 20 minutes of that hour your practice time. Go into deathmatch or run an Aim Labs playlist and just really focus on practice for that short period of time. Not only will you find you perform better when you finally get into those comp matches, but you'll be warmed up, you'll be ready to go, and your aim will improve so quickly. I can promise you that much. Right, so that's about all I've got. I tried my best to keep it concise and not too bloated. Just try and be patient. Like any skill, it will take lots of time, a bit of dedication. You'll never be like, right, I finished improving now, I got the best aim. You'll always have things to work on. As long as you go in with that improvement mindset and put the effort in, I guarantee you will get better. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did get this far, feel free to leave a comment and ask any questions. I'll happily give a hand up, helping hand where I can. Thanks so much for watching, guys. Have a good day.